Porsche finally did it, huh? For the first time ever, we have a hybrid 911. It's called the GTS T-Hybrid. But in typical Porsche fashion, it's anything but typical. There's nowhere to plug it in. You can't drive it in all EV mode. This is an all-new approach to a hybrid platform. An approach that is solely focused on making the 911 faster, sharper, and ready for the future. I'll dive into the spec of this very expensive Targa GTS, explain to you what that hybrid system is all about, and then take it for a drive and detail what it feels like. Big thanks to Porsche of downtown LA for letting me check out this 911 GTS Hybrid today. If you're interested in anything in their inventory, I've left details in the description. Now the spec. This Targa 4 GTS is finished in vanadium gray metallic. Under the sun, this color looks absolutely incredible, deep, rich, and full of metallic depth. Up front, something unique to the GTS are the active aero flaps. They open and close automatically to balance cooling and aerodynamic efficiency. Down low, you've got 21-inch wheels with the optional carbon fiber inserts, which is an option I rarely ever see. Out back, the sport exhaust sits below a redesigned diffuser, giving the car a wider, more aggressive stance, and of course, that signature Porsche sound. Inside, this one is spec with the manufacturer interior, a nearly $13,000 option, paired with the 18-way adaptive sport seats, easily one of the best driving positions in any car. Now let's talk about that engine and that hybrid platform. So out is the old 3-liter twin turbocharged unit found in the .1 GTS. In is a practically brand new 3.6-liter single turbocharged boxer 6-cylinder that generates 478 horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque. Now Porsche added some electricity to it. First thing is an electric motor inside the single turbo I just mentioned. It helps spool up the turbo and works hand in hand with the exhaust gases to spin the turbo as fast as possible, as quickly as possible. Next is a tiny 1.9 kilowatt-hour battery that sits right here in the front where the 12 volt used to be, and it operates at 400 volts. Now the original 12 volt was moved to the rear of the car for better weight distribution. And speaking of the rear, now we come to that electric motor, which is housed inside the PDK transmission. The electric motor itself makes roughly 53 horsepower and 110 pounds-feet of torque. So the total output of the GTS T-Hybrid is 532 horsepower and 449 pounds-feet of torque. 0 to 60 happens in 2.9 seconds. So in review, Porsche made the engine bigger, added 2 electric motors, and a battery. Now, why am I recapping this? Because all of this stuff adds weight, and we don't want to add weight to the 911. But considering all of these things that were added, the GTS T-Hybrid only gained 103 pounds. And for this Targa trim level, comes in at just under 3,800 pounds. So that's enough talking about the T-Hybrid. Now let's take it for a spin and see what it drives like. All right, now inside the GTS Hybrid. So let me go ahead and turn this thing on. Let it warm up for a second, and let me tell you some of the suspension modifications for the GTS. So you get rear axle steering as standard, which, not that the 911 is a big car, but it does help for maneuverability. And on top of that, the performance enhancement is when you're canyon carving and when you're driving at highway speeds, it does provide more stability and better performance. Then you've got PDCC. That is optional, which this car does not have. And then after that, you've got the sport suspension with the 10-millimeter lowered ride height. That includes PASM. You do have the option to get the higher ride height if you choose to do so. But the other enhancement are the rear wheels. So these have 11.5-inch wheels in the back. And the tire is also a little bit bigger, so 315s in the rear. That's a bump up 10 millimeters from the prior GTS. So let's go ahead and see what this GTS or this hybrid is really all about. And my experience with the .2 generation, the refresh, is 2 ends of the spectrum. Underneath the GT trim level, I've driven this, and I've also driven the base 992 and kind of nothing in between. So let's go now. We're gonna go ahead and set up our modes. And vehicle, we're just gonna go, actually we can use our drive mode selector and spin it into Sport Plus. And we'll do some quick runs here. I'm not gonna bang on this thing too much. It's only got 1,000 miles it is a dealer car, just to get a feel for it, and then most importantly, to tell you about how that hybrid system is working. All right, let's do sport response for 20 seconds. And some road in front of us, 10 miles an hour roll. Oh, okay, I'm not gonna go more than that. Oh my God, wow. Oh, okay, this is mind-numbingly fast. Oh, and feel that balance in the chassis there. Wow, this is okay. The blow-off valve noise with the turbo, single turbo sound. Motor sounds fantastic. All right, we're gonna do it again. I'm not gonna do any launch control or beat up on this thing. Do a little bit of brake boost. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, I'm doing this because I'm starting to feel a little nauseated from the acceleration. And this is, okay, this is just mind-numbingly fast. Okay, guys, so this is crazy. This is turbo levels of performance. I have not driven the .2 turbo with the 700 horsepower, but I have driven the 992.1, and this is really tinkering on the line of that type of acceleration. This is a mind-blowingly fast car. I love the fact that it's still a high revving motor with a 7,500 RPM redline, and it just digs. And the four-wheel drive, I lost a little traction coming around with that first acceleration, but it quickly caught up and just flies. This thing absolutely flies. If you had any levels of doubt in terms of acceleration with the hybrid and how much faster is it, this is just, I mean, it's really, really fast. I can put it, it's not even quick. This is just fast. There's very few cars that make me kind of nauseous, but this car, the turbo, all basically most faster EVs do that to me, and this also is on that level. All right, so now that we've established, not that there was much of a doubt, but we've established that this is a very fast car. Now, the magic question for the GTS or the hybrid. Can you feel the hybrid, and does it still feel like a 911? Can you feel the hybrid? Plain and simply, no. You cannot feel the hybrid. Does it mess up the 911 feel? No, it does not. There's no way, it is imperceptible. I drove this around for a couple miles. It is literally imperceptible. You cannot tell when the hybrid or the battery is turning on or off. There's truly only one indicator, well, two technically. There's a gauge in the tachometer when it swings left and right, typical to an EV car. So when it swings to the left, it goes into the green mode and it's charging. When it swings to the right, blue mode, it's actually using the battery. And then there's also another menu in the infotainment called performance. You go into energy and it'll tell you, it'll say e-boost, and it'll tell you how many kilowatts of power you're using. And the trick here is that as I was driving it around, you're not really using the electric battery much. You're pretty much just riding on the motor, and I could see that because my e-boost is just sitting on 0 kilowatts as I'm kind of like putting it around. Like now, like as I'm taking off, 0 kilowatts, 0 kilowatts. I'm not using the battery whatsoever. Combustion engine, 30 kilowatts. I'm using the engine to move the car. And this is kind of further indication of that you don't really feel when the battery's working, because most of the time it's not really working. You're pretty much driving a regular 911. That level of, yes, it still feels like a 911 is there because of this, or one of the contributing factors. And some further evidence of this is when I turned this car on, the state of charge for the battery was at 72%. Now, I didn't hammer it several times, just once or twice to get a feel for it before I started rolling. And you saw me do it there once or twice. And my state of charge, when I turned it on, was 72%. And then after I putted it around to get a feel for it, it went up to 92%, which means I practically didn't use any of the battery. So yeah, I mean, it feels like a regular 911. So throttle response is fantastic. That electric turbo, spinning up the turbo without some of the gases, I could certainly feel that. There's a very, very kind of basically imperceptible amount of turbo lag, and the download torque for this motor, the 3.6, feels very, very strong. This feels like a stout motor, and the download torque in the daily driving situations helps a lot. You can really sense that additional torque in this GTS trim level. So throttle response is fantastic. Now let's talk about the brake feel, because you are regenning while you are driving around and also when you're braking. But seat of the pants feel, this feels no different than a regular 911. The brake pedal is still very strong, firm, lots of bite right at the top of the pedal. Maybe if you drove it around back to back right after driving a non-hybrid, non-regen brake 911, you might be able to tell a difference, but just sitting here, seat of the pants, driving it around, the brake pedal is fantastic. Stomp on it, it slows down. You do see the brake, the green meter dive deeper into the left when you're using the brake, but there's no concerns here with brake regen or the feel of the brake lacking as a result of the brake regen. So in terms of daily drivability, to round this out, I do have a video about daily driving a 911 and how good it is. But just to touch on it here very quickly, the T-Hybrid is not going to impact it. As I mentioned here, it's practically imperceptible. There is no motor sound. There is no annoyance of the battery or anything like that. You're not going to feel any of that. You're really just driving a regular 911. And I'm sitting in an 18-way seat in the manufacturer leather. It's a very comfortable space. The GTS trim does have a unique tuning for the PASM, but it's still daily drivable in normal mode. You do feel some of the bumps, and I always like to say that the 911 is comfortable to drive on a daily basis relative to a sports car. Not relative to a sedan or anything like that. I'm sitting here comfortable, the seat is supportive, the drive is kind of bumpy, you do feel everything, and it's even more bumpier when you're in Sport Plus mode. I highly recommend, if you're daily driving, just stay in normal, because in Sport Plus it does get really bouncy on uneven pavement. And I experienced it here in downtown LA, so if you've experienced anything like this and your local streets are this way, then normal is more than adequate. Sport Plus, Sport, save that for when you're driving spiritedly. So yeah, no concerns. I'm sitting at 100 state of charge. I cannot tell when this thing is doing it. I mean, I hammered it a couple times and my state of charge is still at 100. So there's no plug-in. There's no worrying about depleting the battery. Whenever you stomp it, it seems like you're going to get that extra battery power. So Porsche has developed something that is truly remarkable as a hybrid performance car. And you're just like, okay, normal mode, and you just fly away. You're using all that power. You hear the blow-off valve. Oh, it's just a fun experience. I really like this T-Hybrid, and I think Porsche has done a fantastic job blending it into the 911. So that's all I've got. Let's wrap it up with a steady score and some final thoughts. All right, so now let's give the Targa GTS a steady score, where I rank each car across 5 different categories with an overall score at the end, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Let's start it out with styling, 8.5. The 992 has been around for a very long time. I like the way it looked in .1. I like the way it looks in .2. High score. Performance, 9.0. I mean, you saw it there when I was driving it. The straight line performance is mind-numbing. It is a very high-performance car. Granted, I did drive it in a city setting, but I can feel that the capabilities of this car are very high. Comfort, 7.7. Remember, this is comfortable relative to a sports car experience. Technology, 8.5, and granted, I didn't really touch much on the tech beyond just the hybrid and the engine, but I've always liked PCM and the overall technology in Porsche products, and it's gotten better and better as it's evolved. Pricing, 7.5. This is the weakest point. The Targa GTS starts at just under $200,000, and this one loaded up the way that it is with the manufacturer interior and some of the other carbon fiber bits, this can easily go up to $250,000 plus markups. I'm not sure what the market's like, but this is a rather expensive car. Overall score, 8.24. This is one of the highest rated 911s I've ever driven. So that's all I've got. If you've got any questions, please make sure you leave me a comment down below or send me a message on Instagram or TikTok at DriveSteady. If you're interested in watching any other reviews of the 992, where I go into a little bit more detail about the technology and the .2 refresh items, here's some links for you to watch. Another thank you to Porsche of downtown LA. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, drive steady.